Hey yo, what's good everyone? Welcome to my channel. This is Mauro and today we're gonna react to Canada and the United States compared. This is gonna be a very interesting video because I don't see that many differences between Canada and the United States, to be fair. You know, I've never been to any of those countries, so without any further ado, let's just jump into the video.
Sponsored in part by CuriosityStream. Canada and the United States of America, the two biggest countries in North America.
We coexist together because we're all Canadian. We're part of Canada and we're bonding together against the common enemy, the United States. What a horrible country. I live there now. They're the most un-Canadian people you will ever meet.
Nah, actually, both have a lot in common. Whoa, are we really gonna do this? Okay, let's do this. Both have very close cultural and economic ties. So actually, both are two of the biggest countries in the world.
I think Canada is the second biggest country in the world, right?
Canada is slightly bigger than the United States. Both share the world's longest border between two countries. The border stretches 5,525 miles, or 8,891 kilometers. Yeah, while Canada has officially adopted the metric system as a whole, the United States is only one of 3 countries in the entire world that hasn't. That said, plenty of...
Wait, what? It's not true. Myanmar, Liberia, but also the United Kingdom don't use the meter system, right? I don't think in the United Kingdom they use the metric system. I don't know. Let me know down in the comments if you know that.
One of 3 countries in the entire world that hasn't. That said, plenty of Canadians don't always use the metric system to measure stuff, and plenty of Americans do often use the metric system. Anyway, let's stick with more similarities first, okay? Both are 2 of the wealthiest, most developed countries in the world. Immigrants have flocked to both countries for economic opportunity for centuries, which is why major cities in both are some of the most ethnically diverse in the world. Both have mixed economies and have a progressive tax system on income. However, Canadians definitely pay higher taxes overall. Oh, lots of trading be going on between the two. The United States is Canada's largest...
There's something, sorry if I'm pausing too much, but that's something interesting because I know that all the American movies that we see on television and series, they are all shot in Canada because they have lesser taxes. So that's kind of weird that they will have higher taxes in Canada. Or maybe they have lower taxes for business.
Trading partner, and Canada is consistently a top 3 trading partner for the United States. Both are in NATO and have historically fought as allies in wars. Both have lots of natural resources. Both have a wide variety of climates and rainfall patterns. Both are democratic. Specifically, the United States is a democratic republic, and Canada is a parliamentary democracy and constitutional monarchy. Both are growing at the same rate. Residents of both generally like their space. Indeed, everything is more spread out in both countries. Both have mostly the same holidays. Yeah, they both celebrate Thanksgiving, but of course not on the same day.
Really?
Americans celebrate it on the 4th Thursday of November. Canadians celebrate it on the 2nd Monday of October. This is partially because Americans associate the holiday more with the Pilgrims coming over, while Canadians associate it more with the Harvest Festival in general. Hey, you know what? Let's get into some history. But before we get into that, here's a word from our sponsor.
There's no sponsor.
Me? Oh, I guess I'm the one who is telling you about this video sponsor because that's how it usually is. Yeah, so this video is sponsored by CuriosityStream, the best place to stream educational content on the interwebs. CuriosityStream has thousands of streamable documentaries and nonfiction, award-winning exclusive TV shows on topics like history, nature, science, food, technology, travel, and more. With more than 35 collections of curated programs handpicked by their experts, streamed to any device, anytime, meantime,
I love
I recommend the
that.
series American Icons to start off with. Try it out by visiting the link on the screen and in the description of this video. Use code MrBeat to sign up and get it for just $14.99 for the whole year. Thanks to CuriosityStream for sponsoring this video. And for the next part of this video, my friend Mr.
Wow, $15 a year. I might as well just do it. That's crazy. I love documentaries and stuff like that.
Betts from the channel Drawn of History told me that he'd just turn me into a cartoon if I jumped into the computer. Let's try this out, shall we? Okay then, let's do this. Well, the earliest humans in what would later become both countries had settled nearly all of North America by 12,000 years ago. The Norse came to North America, maybe as far south as modern-day United States, but certainly modern-day Canada, around 1,000 years ago. Throughout the 1500s, European explorers came searching for riches and to take over and convert indigenous peoples to their religion. The big three countries to explore, conquest, convert, and colonize were Spain, England, and France. The Dutch and Swedes also had small claims as well, and the Russians out west later on. Ultimately, future Canada and a big chunk of the future United States would be fought over by the British and French, while the Spanish held on to claims.
We should definitely make a reaction about Alaska. I don't know how Russians got the control of Alaska. I just know that America bought it for plenty of money, because and then later they were lucky because they found also oil right there, right? We need to make more reactions about history.
For another big chunk of the future United States up into future Canada. By the early 1700s, around a few thousand Spanish, 16,000 French, and 300,000 English settlers lived in modern-day United States and Canada. That alone should tell you the direction the future would go. But first, a few wars between France and Britain. The biggest one, the 7 Years' War, well, specifically the French and Indian War, led to Britain taking over all previously held French territory in mainland North America. Britain was feeling pretty good about themselves until 13 of its colonies decided to all up and declare independence a few years after this. Today, Americans celebrate July 4th, 1776, as their country's birthday, as that was the day the Second Continental Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence. After the American War of Independence, Britain lost most of its North American colonies, but it did hold on to future Canada. Many of the Loyalists during that war, or folks who wanted to stay loyal to Britain, ended up fleeing the United States to future Canada. The United States was truly an experiment. It was the first government that went all in for the Enlightenment ideals of liberalism and republicanism, completely rejecting royalty and the aristocracy, while calling for prioritizing the protection of natural rights. It was the first major group of colonies to successfully revolt against colonial rule and inspire the rest of the world. Meanwhile, in 1791, Britain established Upper Canada and Lower Canada. Lower Canada still had a predominantly French population. Also by that time, there were the colonies of Nova Scotia and New Brunswick. In 1803, the United States bought Louisiana from France, doubling the size of the country. Now let's jump ahead to the War of 1812. Most Canadians today know all about the War of 1812 and love to point out how this was the war when the British forces burnt down the White House. Most Americans barely know anything about the War of 1812, so hey, Americans, why don't you educate yourselves on it, okay? Mr. Betts has just released a video about it over on his new channel, Drawn of History. Go watch it right now and come back, or watch it.
We will react to that one. Let me know down in the comments. Leave a comment saying, I want your reaction on the War of 1812. It's gonna be amazing, I think.
Later or something, I don't know. This is a collaboration, okay? Yes, we plan to release these videos at the same time. It's a conspiracy. Anyway, yeah, so the future Canadians and Americans battled it out in the War of 1812, but really, it was a draw. One thing for sure, after that war, things have been relatively peaceful between the two countries ever since. Well, there was the Oregon boundary dispute. As both the United Kingdom and the United States looked to continue expanding westward, both had signed the Treaty of of 1818 to settle boundary disputes and to jointly settle an Oregon country. However, as more and more American settlers came to Oregon by the 1840s, tensions got a little hot between the two. Fortunately, they resolved it with the Oregon Treaty, splitting up Oregon at the 49th parallel so that the United Kingdom got the northern half and the United States got the southern half. That 49th parallel today makes up much of the border between the United States and Canada. I guess later there was also a dispute between Alaska and the United Kingdom as well, once gold was discovered in the Yukon, but that was settled relatively easily. Back to the 1840s, the United States annexed the Republic of Texas, eventually leading to a war with Mexico, which the United States won and then got the northern half of Mexico due to winning that war. A few years later, it got its modern contiguous borders after the Gadsden Purchase. During the American Civil War, future Canada officially stayed neutral, although tens of thousands of men from future Canada enlisted to help the Union forces. Most from future Canada, after all, were against slavery by this time, and future Canada had long been a final destination for runaway slaves through the Underground Railroad. The British had gotten rid of slavery back in 1834. Anyway, a couple years after the Union was preserved and the 13th Amendment ended slavery in the United States, Canada actually became a country. Well, kind of. Mostly. They were a dominion, still technically part of the British Empire, but self-governing. Today, Canada Day is kind of like the 4th of July or Independence Day in the States. Canadians celebrate it on the anniversary of the Canadian Confederation being established on July 1st, 1867, in which the three colonies of Canada, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick united. So here is how Canada looked at the time. But over the following decades, it expanded dramatically, and the United States tried to expand overseas. After getting Alaska, it aggressively found itself trying to gain a bunch of islands who mostly were not too happy being taken over. Kind of like all those Native Americans who had their lands stolen over the previous 2 centuries. Canadians generally did not treat indigenous peoples much better as they expanded. Both countries discriminated against people of color, and segregation was the norm into the first half of the 1900s. Most reforms in both countries during that time, such as women finally getting the right to vote, followed a similar pattern during that time. Canada and the United States were close allies during both the world wars. While the United Kingdom put Canada with full equal standing with it in 1931, most Americans have no idea that Canada didn't truly become a completely independent country until 1982, after it adopted its own constitution. After World War II, both countries went through very prosperous times and continued to follow.
I didn't know that Canada was such a young country. That's crazy. Wow. Next year is gonna be 4 years old, Canada. That's crazy.
Similar paths with reforms. However, Canada went a bit further with its government programs and has been more left-leaning, and this trend continues to this day. Canada also seems to have gone in a more progressive direction earlier. For example, it legalized same-sex marriage 10 years before the United States. Today, many of the differences between Canada and the United States are linked to the fact that Canada stayed loyal to Britain for many years after the United States became a country, after breaking away from Great Britain. Most Americans love Canada. Less Canadians adore the United States, but still, they get along so freaking well. The United States has more people, a lot more people. In fact, it has 9 times as many people and has the 3rd largest population in the world. California has more people than Canada. Remember, Canada is slightly bigger in size and is the 2nd largest country in the world by area, followed only by Russia. However, most of this area has few residents due to it being oh so very, very cold. 90% of Canadians actually live within 100 miles of the US border. And yeah, let's look at the climate more closely. Canada is perhaps obviously colder being further north, even if you include comparing it to Alaska. Most of Canada's Canada's climate zones are affected by very cold air from the Arctic region. There are exceptions. Along the southwestern coast of Canada, there is mostly an oceanic climate. Much of southern Canada has various types of continental or arid climates. However, the vast majority of Canada is subarctic, and much of it is also tundra. The furthest northern areas of Canada are even permanently under ice. The United States is obviously warmer overall, but basically has every climate zone imaginable, from the rainforests of Hawaii to the tundra of Alaska, from the humid subtropical climate of most of the South and part of the Midwest to the deserts of the western portions of the country. Heck, you'll even see several different climate types within one state. The wettest parts of the country get as much as 275 inches of precipitation each year. On the other hand, Death Valley, which is often not only the driest but hottest place in the country, barely gets more than 2 inches of precipitation each year. Canada has just as crazy of difference. The driest parts of the country up in Nunavut get just over 3 inches of rain each year, and Henderson Lake on Vancouver Island gets more than 287 inches each year. It gets more rainfall than any other place in North America. There are 50 states in the United States, and also a federal district, 5 self-governing territories, and several other random island possessions. Canada has 10 provinces.
Wait, let me see. Oh, I didn't even know that. I mean, Guam I knew. Of course, Puerto Rico, been there, so I know. What is that? Northern Mariana Islands, Wake Island, American Samoa, Baker Island. Wow, that's crazy. I didn't even know they existed such territories. That is so cool. I'm sure if you see pictures or videos of those islands, they're like paradisiac islands.
Territories and several other random island possessions. Canada has 10 provinces and 3 territories. The life expectancy is higher in Canada. Related to this, Canada has universal health care. The United States does not. Yeah, politically, the United States is more conservative on most issues. The median age is higher in Canada. Canada has 2 official languages, English and French. The majority of Quebec residents speak French as a first language. The United States has no official language, but the 2 most common languages are English.
How's that even possible, no official language? That's crazy. Everyone speaks English in the United States. How is that not an official language? I mean, also Spanish.
And Spanish. The poverty rate is higher in the United States, although Canadians measure their poverty rate differently, so perhaps that is misleading. The United States also has worse debt as a percentage of GDP. However, the median household income is higher in the United States. Football, or American football, that is the most popular sport in the United States, whereas ice hockey is the most popular sport in Canada. Major League Baseball and the National Basketball League both have 29 American teams and 1 Canadian team.
I think MLS has many Canadian teams, right?
Those Canadian teams in both leagues are based in Toronto, which indeed is a city that feels like it actually could be in the United States. The cost of living is generally higher in the United States. At the time of this recording, 1 Canadian dollar was worth about 76 cents, meaning Americans visiting Canada get more of a better deal. Normally there is lots of movement going back and forth between the countries, but less so obviously during the COVID-19 pandemic.
But I don't know about that, you know, if your currency is stronger than the other currency, but you still are paying with your currency, so I think pretty much you pay the same amount of money, right? When you have to pay for the exchange rate. I think so, right? I mean, it could be. I don't think you're gonna save that much money if you pay with your currency in because of exchange rate. I might be wrong.
Of the pandemic, Canada has fared with it better than the United States. Canadians are generally less religious. For those who are religious, more identify as Roman Catholic, whereas in the United States, more identify as Evangelical Protestant. A higher percentage of Canadians have college degrees, although the United States is known for having some of the best colleges in the world, and yeah, Canada spends more on education. Despite agriculture being much more of a big deal in the United States, more Americans live in urban areas. Sure, almost 80% of Canadians live in urban areas, but 80% of the entire country is uninhabited. Most of Canada is straight up wilderness, and it has more wilderness than any other country other than Russia. Just about 18% of the United States is wilderness. Major industries in Canada include mining, healthcare, manufacturing, and transportation. Major industries in the United States also include healthcare and manufacturing, but additionally, technology and retail. According to the World Happiness Report, Canadians are happier than Americans. Canada is known for Tim Hortons. The United States is known for Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks. Well, dang, while we're at it, the United States is known for so many freaking brands. 3 of the 5 biggest companies in the world, Walmart, Amazon, and Apple, are all based there. Probably the most well-recognized symbol of
Also Google, right?
the United States is the bald eagle. The most well-recognized symbol of Canada, the maple leaf. It's even on the flag. The American flag has 13 stripes that represent the original 13 colonies and 50 stars that represent the 50 states of the Union. The United States has a much bigger military. In fact, it easily has the largest
We definitely need to make a reaction to the Canadian military, yeah? Absolutely.
military in the world. No other country even comes close. Marijuana is completely legal in Canada, but in some American states it's still illegal. Canada has less violent crime. The United States has a higher percentage of its own citizens in prison than any other country in the world. That said, the United States is generally a more free place. One example of this is censorship. Perhaps due to Americans placing a high value on freedom of speech, you just hear and see more provocative and controversial stuff there. How about Canadian content, eh? The Canadian government actually requires that radio and TV broadcasters, including cable and satellite channels, have to broadcast at least a certain percentage of content that was at least partially created or presented by Canadian residents. Fortunately for Canada, lots of great music comes out of the country considering how much fewer folks live there. But yeah, American culture is more influential on the world. Throughout history, as the United States dominated mass media, it also spread its culture around the world through music, movies, TV shows, video games, and social media. There are 2 major reasons for this. 1, a spirit of innovation throughout American history, and 2, just having a huge domestic market. With the majority of Americans speaking English, they have also had access to a worldwide market of more than 2 billion English speakers. The United States is more nationalistic.
That's crazy. I mean, that's a bit presumptuous to think that in Italy 40 to 60% of people will speak English. I can tell you that not even 10% of the people in Italy can speak English. I mean, they could like read English and understand a couple of words, but speak it with fluency, come on. I guess like 10%, even less than
more
that.
than 2 billion English speakers. The United States is more nationalistic. If you tell a Canadian about the Pledge of Allegiance, many of them would be a bit confused, to say the least. Canada stopped making pennies. The United States still does, for some reason. Canadians generally do know a lot more about the United States than Americans know about Canada. Americans party harder. I have no scientific evidence to back this up, but it's probably true. Okay, let's try to wrap this up. Overall, most of the differences between the two are subtle. Like, Canadians apparently call these pencil crowns, but Americans call them colored pencils. And Canadians call these washrooms, and Americans call them bathrooms or restrooms. But honestly, folks like JJ McCullough argue those differences are overrated. Because both countries are so dang big, and because there are so many regional differences, it's been really difficult making this video, since many of these generalizations are misleading. Undoubtedly, the United States remains a superpower in the world, and Canada is often in its shadow. However, both continue to thrive and really do depend on each other. And yeah, they really are 2 of my favorite countries. I mean, no surprise, right?
That was nice. Oh, there's still more.
Full disclosure, I am an American, in case you hadn't figured it out by now. But I've been to Canada multiple times, and I really love it up there. I did also have a Canadian friend who really loves the United States read over the script. That'd be the amazing JJ McCullough. Thank you, JJ, for reading over the script. Also, in the summer of 2019, I totally predicted I would make this video eventually, man. And so I asked one of my other Canadian friends, Tristan from Step Back History, to give me his thoughts about the similarities and differences between Canada and the United States.
Canada has a lot of this patriotic feeling inside because in many ways the example of the United States is really the way that Canada has developed its own identity. So we develop these kind of ideas of how can we be not American, and so we try to find our own ways to do interesting things while being, let's be honest, more or less exactly the same in a lot of cases, but
yeah. The majority of my regular viewers are from one of these two countries, and so I know you have lots more to add in the comments, so comment away. Also, don't forget to check out my friend Mr. Betts' video about the War of 1812 over on his new channel, Drawn of History. Yeah, it's a new channel, but it's already one of the best history channels on YouTube, period. Check it out and subscribe, I'm telling ya. And finally, here's my monthly shout out to all my Patreon supporters who donate at least $10 or more each month to the channel, beginning with my biggest donors.
That's really nice, that's really nice. I'm not even gonna lie, this video was really interesting, was highly educating, so I have a better idea now about the differences between Canada and the United States, and I wasn't totally wrong, I guess. There are not too many actual differences between Canada and the United States, but at least now I know why. Because most of the Canadian people lives within 100 miles on the border to the US. So that's pretty normal, I'm not even gonna lie, because even here, I mean, even in Europe, you know, we have so many countries, and right on the border of each country, you know, like, to make an example, you know, to simplify what I'm trying to say, because I'm not even gonna be explaining very well, but yeah, like in the border with France, most people here have to study French in school, so of course they will pick up many more French things, you know, feel like, yes, I'm Italian, but I also love France, I feel like I'm French, whatever, you know. And also the same like on the border to Austria, on the border to Slovenia or Croatia, or whatever, you know, it's pretty normal, I would say it's pretty normal, you know, when you're on the border. I'm sure it's the same for every country, you know, like from French places near to Spain, they will probably learn Spain and feel a little bit Spanish as well. So I don't know, that's what I guess, at least in my experience. So I live near France. I mean, it's not that near, it's about 100 miles perhaps, so yeah, my theory is not that good then. But yeah, I mean, maybe less, like about 20 miles. Could be, you know, I don't know, just scratch that, I've been saying stupid things. But yeah, whatever, you know, this video was really interesting. I love this kind of divulgation, so if you have any more recommendations for me to check out about the US or Canada, let me know down in the comments. I'm gonna write it down and I'm gonna try to do it very soon. This is it for today. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you enjoy what I do, and I will see you next time.